July 5, 1777. Fort Ticonderoga, the strongest American position in the north, walled in stone and bristling with cannon. General Arthur St. Clair holds it with 2,000 men and one comforting assumption: no army can drag heavy cannon up the ridge overlooking the fort. It's too steep, too thick with timber. Every engineer on both sides has written it off as impossible. At dawn, St. Clair's men look up and see British guns aimed straight down into their own works. Overnight, without firing a shot, General John Burgoyne's army did the impossible. St. Clair has minutes to save his men. That night, in silence, the strongest fort in the north is abandoned, without a fight. The news lands across the colonies like a body blow, but this isn't the ending, it's the opening scene. 3 months later, in a field 70 miles south, the very army that took Ticonderoga without losing a man will lay down its own weapons in surrender. So the real question isn't how Burgoyne won that morning, it's how he loses the war 3 months later. Here's why it mattered so much. Burgoyne's march was meant to cut the colonies in half, sever New England, where the rebellion began, from everyone else, by seizing the river and lake corridor connecting Canada to New York. If it worked, many in London believed the war could be finished within the year. This wasn't a raid, it was the plan to end the rebellion, and, on paper, it should have worked. Burgoyne commanded nearly 8,000 men, British regulars, German soldiers from Brunswick, Canadian militia, and Native American allies who knew the land. Meanwhile, the army retreating in front of him was falling apart, deserting to bring in harvests, low on ammunition, and so demoralized that Congress would soon fire the general in command. Benedict Arnold didn't inherit respect. He fought for it. A merchant's son, already carrying a leg wound from a failed assault on Quebec, resented by officers who outranked him through connections rather than combat. Arnold understood something his superiors didn't. Hesitation kills more men in battle than boldness does. He'd prove it twice before this campaign ended. The Americans couldn't beat Burgoyne's army in open battle, so they fought the ground instead. Retreating soldiers felled trees across every road, destroyed bridges, and flooded the low country. An army that could cover 20 miles a day found itself advancing barely one, while its supply line back to Canada stretched thinner with every mile. To Congress, watching from a distance, it looked like cowardice. It was actually math. Not everyone marching with Burgoyne was a soldier. Baroness von Riedesel traveled with her husband's German troops and her 3 young daughters, a decision that would put her, by autumn, inside a siege none of them were prepared for. By August, Burgoyne needed supplies badly enough to send a detachment toward Bennington to seize them. Militia General John Stark surrounded it completely, then surrounded the relief column sent to save it. In a single week, Burgoyne lost roughly 900 men he had no way to replace. Further west, a second British column under Barry St. Leger was besieging Fort Stanwix, meant to meet Burgoyne at Albany. Arnold marched to break the siege, and instead of a battle, he sent a captured loyalist ahead to spread wildly exaggerated rumors of the army approaching. It worked. St. Leger's native allies deserted rather than face a force that didn't exist, and the western arm of Burgoyne's plan collapsed without Arnold firing a shot. Burgoyne kept advancing anyway, believing a second British army would march north from New York to meet him. It never came. Believing local loyalists would flood his ranks, they didn't. After native allies traveling with his army killed a young colonist named Jane McCrea, outrage swelled American militia numbers instead of shrinking them. On September 19th, the armies collided at Freeman's Farm. American riflemen picked off British officers from the tree line before the main lines even closed, and the clearing changed hands 3 times before nightfall. By dusk, the British held the ground, but they'd lost twice as many men as the Americans. Men Burgoyne couldn't replace this deep in hostile territory. A victory that looked, on paper, exactly like a defeat. For weeks, nothing moved. Burgoyne's men starved. His rivalry with an increasingly cautious Gates pushed Arnold to the edge, until Gates stripped him of command entirely and ordered him to stay off the field. On October 7th, Burgoyne sent troops to test the American lines, and everything broke loose at once. Somewhere behind the fighting, a general with no command and direct orders to stay out of it heard the gunfire and couldn't stay away. Arnold rode onto the battlefield without permission. Gates didn't even know he was there. He rallied troops who hadn't expected to see him again and personally led the assault on the Bremen Redoubt, the position holding the entire British line together. When it fell, So did Burgoyne's defense. Arnold took a bullet through the same leg wounded at Quebec. The general, just humiliated and stripped of command, had just broken the British Army's back. What followed wasn't a battle anymore. It was a collapse. Surrounded on every side, artillery pounding his camp for days, Burgoyne had nowhere left to go. On October 17th, he surrendered nearly 6,000 men, their weapons, and their colors. The largest capitulation of a British army the war had yet seen. News crossed the Atlantic in weeks. France, quietly supplying the Americans for over a year, but unwilling to commit to a rebellion that might collapse, finally had proof it might not. In February 1778, France signed a formal alliance with the United States, bringing money, warships, and eventually soldiers that would prove decisive 4 years later at Yorktown. Historians still call it the true turning point of the Revolution, the moment a colonial uprising became a war the rest of the world was willing to join. Today, the fields at Saratoga are quiet. A stone monument shaped like a boot honors an unnamed soldier only as the most brilliant soldier of the Continental Army, wounded on that ground in the same leg, twice. It never says Arnold's name. By the time it was built, he'd become the country's most infamous traitor. And even in stone, no one was willing to say who he was. Saratoga didn't just cost Britain an army. It proved the empire ruling a quarter of the globe could actually be beaten. And that proof is what finally convinced the rest of the world to bet on the United States. If you're drawn to the moments history quietly turns on, this channel tells those stories often.